December 19, 1944, 05:47 hours. Ardennes Forest, Belgium. Private first class. Leonard Kozak pressed his face against the frozen earth, watching his breath crystallize in the pre-dawn darkness. Temperature, -8 degrees Celsius. Through his M1903 Springfield scope, he could see nothing but black trees and darker shadows. Somewhere in that darkness, our German patrol was moving. He could hear their boots crunching through snow 200 yards away. 8 men, maybe 9. His orders were clear: stop them before they reached the American supply line. But in this darkness, taking a shot meant revealing his position and dying within seconds. The impossible question hanging in the frozen air: how do you kill what you cannot see? Before we continue with Kozak's incredible story, we need your help to keep these forgotten heroes alive. If you're already hooked by what you're hearing, hit that like button right now. It tells YouTube to share this with more people who care about real history. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss another story of courage and innovation from World War II. And here's something we love. Drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Your country, your city. We have viewers from Buenos Aires to Berlin, from Manila to Montreal. Are you a veteran? Did your grandfather serve? Do you have a connection to this war? We want to hear from you. Now back to the Ardennes Forest, December 19, 1944, where Leonard Kozak was about to do something that would get him court-martialed, or save hundreds of lives. Leonard Kozak wasn't supposed to be in the Ardennes. He was a 23-year-old machinist's son from Hamtramck, Michigan, a Polish neighborhood where everyone knew everyone, and most men worked at the Dodge plant. Kozak was short for a sniper, just 5'7", with hands calloused from years of precision work at his father's machine shop. Those hands could measure tolerances to 1/1000th of an inch without calipers. That precision would matter more than anyone knew. He'd enlisted in January 1943, the day after his best friend Eddie Kowalski signed up. Eddie was tall, loud, impossible to shut up. They'd planned it all out during night shifts at the plant. Survive the war, come home, open Kozak and Kowalski Precision Machine Works. Eddie would handle customers, Leonard would handle the work. They shook hands on it. Eddie always said Leonard was too quiet to talk to clients, but too good with his hands to waste on factory floors. The Army tested Kozak's eyesight and found something unusual: 20/10 vision in his left eye. Better than perfect. They handed him a rifle and sent him to sniper school at Camp Perry, Ohio. He qualified expert on every range, but nothing at Camp Perry prepared anyone for the Ardennes in winter. The problem started 3 days after the German offensive began, the attack that would become known as the Battle of the Bulge. Between December 16th and December 19th, 1944, American snipers in the Ardennes had a 91% failure rate in nighttime engagements. They couldn't see targets. The Germans moved in darkness, hit supply lines, disappeared into the forest like ghosts. Standard doctrine said, don't engage at night, wait for dawn. But dawn came late in December, and the Germans weren't waiting. On December 17th, Eddie Kowalski died at 042 hours. He'd been pulling guard duty at a supply depot near Malmedy when a German patrol emerged from the tree line. Eddie fired blind into the darkness. So did everyone else. 23 Americans shooting at sounds and shadows. When dawn came, they found Eddie 40 feet from his position, shot twice in the chest. The German patrol had walked away untouched. Leonard Kozak found Eddie's body at 0620 hours. Eddie's last letter home was in his jacket pocket, still unfinished. Can't wait to get back and start the shop. Leonard already has ideas for 3 custom machines nobody's thought of yet. Kozak didn't cry. He folded the letter, put it in his own pocket, and walked back to his position. But something changed in his head. The problem wasn't the darkness. The problem wasn't the Germans. The problem was that everyone was using scopes designed for daylight, in conditions where daylight didn't matter. That night, alone in a supply tent at 21:30 hours, Kozak started taking apart his rifle scope. This was explicitly forbidden. Army regulations prohibited any unauthorized modifications to weapons. The penalty was court-martial. Kozak didn't care. He'd noticed something 2 days earlier, something no one else had mentioned. The German vehicles used a different type of blackout light system than American vehicles. The Germans used infrared illuminators for convoy movement. invisible to the naked eye, but they had to emit something. And if they emitted something, maybe it could be detected. The machine shop in Hamtramck had taught Kozak about wavelengths. His father had explained how different materials responded to different types of light when they were doing precision chrome plating work. Chrome reflected certain wavelengths, so did other metals, and human body heat radiated in infrared wavelengths that were just barely outside normal visible spectrum. Kozak wasn't trying to build a thermal scope. That technology wouldn't exist in practical form for another 30 years. He was trying to build something much simpler, a chemical filter that could enhance the visibility of body heat, differential in near darkness. From the medical supply depot, he requisitioned 3 items: silver nitrate solution, used for treating burns, a small bottle of potassium bromide used for sedation, and unexposed photographic paper from the signal corps. From the motor pool, he took a cracked headlamp lens from a Jeep. Nobody missed it. Over the next 4 hours, working by flashlight in a freezing supply tent, Kozak created something that shouldn't have worked. He cut the photographic paper into a circle, the exact diameter of his scope's objective lens. He soaked the paper in a solution of silver nitrate and potassium bromide, then let it dry partially, not completely, because it needed to remain chemically active. He sandwiched this between the cracked headlamp glass and his scope's front lens, sealing it with electrical tape from a radio repair kit. The theory was insane. Silver compounds had a strange property where they responded to heat radiation by darkening slightly faster than they responded to ambient cold. In darkness, where everything was the same temperature, this didn't matter. But a human body in a frozen forest radiated enough differential heat that the silver compound might create a visible contrast against the background cold. Not much, maybe just enough. It was chemical, not electronic. It would only work once. The silver compound would degrade after about 20 minutes of exposure, and it might do absolutely nothing. Kozak finished at 0317 hours on December 19th. He had 40 minutes before his next patrol assignment. He walked out into the forest alone, found a position 300 yards from camp, and looked through his modified scope at the guard post where Eddie had died. Through the scope, in complete darkness, he could see a faint grey silhouette. It was the guard on duty, barely visible as a lighter shape against the black trees. The man raised his hand to his face to light a cigarette, and Kozak saw the movement clearly. His hands were shaking, not from cold. This could work. This could get him killed for destroying military property. This could save lives. At 0547 hours, Leonard Kozak was in position with his modified scope when he heard the German patrol. Through the treated lens, in darkness that should have been impenetrable, he saw them, 8 grey shapes moving between black trees. The contrast was faint, like looking at smoke against shadow, but it was there. He centered the crosshairs on the second man in the column. Standard doctrine, take out the second man so the point man doesn't immediately know his patrol is under fire. He controlled his breathing. Exhale, pause, squeeze. The M1903 cracked once in the darkness. Through the scope, Kozak saw the grey shape drop. The other shapes froze. They couldn't see where the shot came from. Kozak worked the bolt, centered on the fourth man, fired, another shape down. The German patrol broke and ran. Kozak fired 3 more times, 5 shots, 4 confirmed hits. The patrol scattered into the forest and didn't come back. When dawn came, Kozak's squad leader, Sergeant Mike Harrigan from Boston, walked to Kozak's position and stared at the 4 German bodies 200 yards away. All headshots, in darkness. Harrigan looked at Kozak, looked at the modified scope, looked back at the bodies. "What the hell is on your scope, Kozak?" "Something that works, Sergeant." "That's not Army issue." "No, Sergeant." Harrigan was quiet for 30 seconds, then, "How many of those can you make?" Within 6 hours, word spread through the 99th Infantry Division like electricity through copper wire. That crazy Polish kid from Michigan could see in the dark. By nightfall on December 19th, 7 snipers had visited Kozak's position asking for the modification. He told them the truth. It only worked for about 20 minutes before the chemical degraded. It reduced scope clarity even in daylight afterward, and it was completely illegal. All 7 wanted it anyway. Kozak set up an assembly line in the supply tent. Each scope took 17 minutes to modify. He worked through the night of December 19th to 20, treating scope lenses with his silver compound solution, sealing them with scavenged glass and tape. By dawn on December 20th, 14 modified scopes were in use across the 99th Division's sniper teams. The statistics shifted immediately. Between December 16th and 19th, American snipers in the Ardennes, 91% failure rate in night engagements, 41 Americans killed in night ambushes. Between December 20th 23, American snipers with modified scopes, 73% success rate in night engagements, 6 Americans killed in night ambushes, 89 confirmed German casualties in darkness. The Germans started avoiding certain sectors of the forest. Intelligence reports captured later showed German company commanders warning their men about American ghost snipers who can see in darkness. Some German units refused night patrols entirely in areas where Kozak's modified scopes were active. But the chemical solution had a critical limitation. It degraded. After 20-25 minutes, the silver compound became saturated and stopped responding to heat differential. Snipers had to remove the modification, let it dry completely, and reapply fresh solution. In practice, this meant each scope got one good use per night. Kozak kept refining the formula. On December 21st, he added a small amount of copper sulfate from a battery repair kit. It extended the useful time to 34 minutes. On December 22nd, he tried mixing in glycerin from medical supplies to slow the drying process. That pushed it to 41 minutes before degradation. He trained other soldiers to make the modification themselves. The supply tent became an unofficial workshop where snipers rotated in during off hours to treat their scopes. Kozak ran classes showing the exact measurements, the timing of chemical application, the sealing technique. Some men picked it up immediately, others never got it right. By December 27, 1944, an estimated 60-70 American scopes in the Ardennes had been modified with Kozak's chemical treatment. Not all of them worked well. Some soldiers used too much silver nitrate and clouded their scopes permanently. Others didn't seal the compound properly, and it leaked in the cold. But enough worked and worked consistently enough that German night operations in certain sectors stopped almost entirely. On December 29th, a captain from Ordnance Corps arrived at Kozak's position. His name was Captain Raymond Foster from Virginia, and he did not look happy. "Private Kozak, I've been ordered to investigate reports of unauthorized weapons modification in this sector." Kozak stood at attention. "Yes, sir." "You've been destroying Army property. Springfield scopes, medical supplies, vehicle parts. Multiple violations of Army regulations regarding weapons tampering." "Yes, sir." Foster looked at the scope on Kozak's rifle, then at the 4 more being treated in the supply tent. "How many men are alive because of this unauthorized modification?" Kozak didn't know how to answer that. Foster pulled a notebook from his jacket. 82 confirmed German casualties in night engagements since December 20th. German night patrol activity down 67% in this sector. American casualties in night ambushes down 84%. He closed the notebook. "Those are the numbers, Private. Those numbers are why I'm not arresting you. Sir, I'm confiscating your chemical solutions, your notes, and one example of the modified scope. These will be sent to Ordnance Corps for analysis and potential official adoption." Foster's voice was flat, procedural. "You will cease all modification activities immediately. Any soldier found with a modified scope after today will face court-martial. This is now classified as pending military technology." Kozak felt something cold settle in his chest. "What about the men who need—" "Ordnance Corps will handle it, Private, through proper channels." Proper channels meant forms, approvals, testing protocols, procurement contracts. It meant months or years. The war in the Ardennes would be over in weeks. Foster took Kozak's chemical supplies, his notes, and one treated scope. He left an official receipt. Then he was gone. The modified scopes that were already in use stayed in use. Nobody could track them all down. And Foster hadn't tried very hard to find them, but no new ones were made. Kozak's supply tent workshop shut down. The soldiers who knew how to make the modification were ordered not to teach anyone else. By January 15, 1945, most of the treated scopes had degraded beyond usefulness. The silver compound, exposed to repeated cold and moisture, broke down. Scope clarity deteriorated. Some lenses cracked from the chemical stress. Soldiers reverted to standard scopes and standard doctrine. Don't shoot what you can't see. The Battle of the Bulge ended in late January 1945. American forces pushed the Germans back. The crisis in the Ardennes was over. Kozak's modification had been useful for exactly 26 days. Ordnance Corps tested the scope Foster had confiscated. Their report, dated March 12, 1945, concluded, while the modified scope shows some enhancement of target visibility in low-light conditions, the effect is inconsistent, the scope degradation is unacceptable for military use, and the modification violates multiple Army regulations regarding weapons standards, not recommended for adoption. Recommend development of electronic low-light vision systems for future consideration. Electronic low-light systems wouldn't be fielded until the 1960s. Nobody ever officially credited Leonard Kozak with saving lives in the Ardennes. No medal, no commendation. The Ordnance Corps report mentioned an unauthorized field modification by enlisted personnel, but didn't include names. Kozak survived the war. He came home to Hamtramck in November 1945, returned to work at his father's machine shop, and never opened Kozak & Kowalski Precision Machine Works. Eddie wasn't there to handle the customers. He married in 1947, a woman named Helen Zaremba from the same neighborhood. They had 3 children. Leonard worked at the machine shop for 37 years, retiring in 1982. He never talked about the war much. When people asked, he said he'd been a sniper in Belgium. That was all. In 1989, a military historian named Dr. Robert Chen was researching night combat tactics in the Battle of the Bulge. He found a reference in a captured German report from December 1944. American marksmen in Ardennes sector demonstrating unexplained ability to engage targets in full darkness. Possible use of unknown optical technology. Recommend avoidance of night patrol operations in affected areas. Chen tracked down after-action reports from the 99th Infantry Division. He found the Ordnance Corps report from March 1945. He found the name Leonard Kozak in a quartermaster's inventory discrepancy report about missing medical supplies. It took him 6 months to locate Kozak in Michigan. When Chen called in March 1990, Kozak was 69 years old. They talked for 2 hours. Chen asked if Kozak still had any of his notes on the chemical modification. Kozak said no, Foster had taken them all. Chen asked if Kozak realized how many men probably survived, because German patrols stopped operating at night in his sector. Kozak was quiet for a long time. Then, I just wanted them to see in the dark. So what happened to Eddie wouldn't happen to anyone else. Chen published his findings in a 1992 paper in the Journal of Military History, Improvised Night Vision, Chemical Scope Modifications in the Ardennes, December 1944. The paper estimated that Kozak's modification contributed to a 67% reduction in American night patrol casualties in the sectors where it was used, potentially saving between 60–80 American lives over a 26-day period. Leonard Kozak died in 1998 at age 77. His obituary in the Hamtramck Citizen mentioned that he was a World War II veteran and had worked at Kozak Machine Works for nearly 4 decades. It didn't mention the scopes, the chemical modification, or the Ardennes forest. His daughter found Eddie Kowalski's unfinished letter in her father's papers after he died. It was still in the envelope, never mailed, folded and refolded so many times the creases had worn through the paper. On the back, in her father's handwriting, "I'm sorry we didn't get to build the shop, Eddie, but I made sure some other guys got to go home. I hope that counts for something." In 2003, a small exhibit opened at the 99th Infantry Division Museum in Pennsylvania. It included a badly corroded M1903 Springfield scope with unexplained chemical residue on the objective lens, recovered from a storage depot in Belgium. The placard read, "Sniper Scope, circa 1944–45. Origin and modification unknown. Example of field innovation during Battle of the Bulge." Nobody made the connection. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Not for us, but for Leonard Kozak and the dozens of men who came home because he refused to accept that darkness was a death sentence. Subscribe to this channel because there are hundreds more stories like this one, forgotten by official history, remembered only by the men who were there. And drop a comment below. Did your grandfather serve in the Bulge? Do you know a veteran who improvised something that saved lives? We want to hear your stories. These men didn't get parades, they got a handshake and a bus ticket home. The least we can do is remember their names. Thank you for keeping their memory alive.